Good morning, Force followers. How are you today? Welcome to our Thursday live. I'm so excited to be here with you, and I'm actually really excited for my little surprise for you guys. Um, all right, so let's get started. If you are here live, sorry, I was getting my notes ready. If you're here live, give me a thumbs up, please. Well, it doesn't really look like anybody's here yet, so no thumbs up. But that's okay. How's everybody doing? Um, how was everybody's Thanksgiving last week? I asked the girls at practice this week if they ate a lot of turkey, and everybody looks at me like I was crazy. But that's okay. Hopefully, you guys had a great Thanksgiving, and we're going to get started. So, first and foremost, well, not foremost, just first, a word from our sponsor. Do you send your daughters to summer volleyball camps? Because today's live is brought to you by Sports Performance Volleyball Club Summer Camps. I don't know if you know, but I did an internship at Sports Performance my senior year in college, and I coached a club team there, and I learned everything that they have to teach about volleyball, about running a volleyball club, and since then I've stayed great friends with the owner and director, and I reached out to them this year and I said, how come you never do your camps in Houston? They do them in San Marcos, they do them in New Braunfels, they even do some in Round Rock, and I never understood why they didn't come to Houston. And so I reached out and I said, I want to help you come to Houston. So this summer, Houston Force is teaming up with Sports Performance to bring you setting camp, first contact camp, and an attack, block, and passing camp. These camps will be at Faith West on July 22nd through the 24th. Each camp will be 7 sessions long and only $300. You might not know, but I used to attend these setting camps back in the day. So when they used to come to Texas State, I always attended in the summer just to prep myself for the fall. And then I was reminded a little bit ago that I actually attended their all skills camp that they used to have in Houston. So these camps are great. You learn so much in 7 sessions. You will leave a new volleyball player, and I hope that you will sign up. If you want to get registered today, you can. Registration is open. You will find all the information and registration at www.greatlakescenter.com under their camps tab. It's the Faith West Academy Texas camp. I will post the link in the comments below after the live, but I tried to set it up so that it would, what's the word? It would post right now. So hopefully it's posting. I don't know. Maybe you can see it. Click the link, go sign up, and I will see you guys this summer at the camp. All right. So today's live is an educational one. I have a special guest with me today that I coerced into going live with me last night at practice. And so my guest today is Houston Force's very own Shayla Bee. She's recently married, so that's why her name is Bee now. She coaches our 14 regional team and 18 local team, and we will get into serve receive, and then she will share with us 3 tips for your players to get more passes to the target. All right, let's bring on Shayla. 1 second. Hey, Shayla.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Happy to be here. Thanks for having
Yay.
me.
Yeah, you
A little
bet.
bit nervous.
Oh, don't be nervous.
It's my first Facebook Live ever.
Yay. And I love that you're here. Like, I think this will make it easier because then we're just interacting. So it's
That's
not like you're
true.
all by yourself. And don't worry, there's only one person watching right now. Uh, okay, so tell us a little bit about your volleyball background, where you come from, where'd you play, what position? Give me all the details.
So I'm originally from Katy. I grew up here. I went to Cedar Ranch High School. I surprisingly, I'm only 5'6", but I played middle blocker both
Yeah.
in club and at school. And even more odd, I was a 6 rotation middle blocker. So I played all the way around, which is kind of unheard of.
Yeah, you don't see
Um,
that very often.
But it was, I mean, I loved it. It was cool. So after that, I went to A&M Corpus Christi and was converted to a full-time DS libero because at 5'6", you're not going to play any sort of front row in Division I volleyball.
Yeah.
While I was there, I coached with Corpus Christi Force for 2 years, and then ended up moving back to Katy after I graduated and got on board with Houston Force. Last year, let's see, I coached for 2 years here, and then last year took a year off because I had a baby, got married, and now I'm back. I'm happy to be back coaching 2
Yay.
teams.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
really glad you're back. It's been a interesting relationship, I guess, between you and me. Like I never knew you before, and then you were
Yeah.
introduced to me from Corpus Christi and San Antonio Force. They said, "Hey, we got a girl that's moving to Houston, and she wants to continue to be in the Force family." And I'm glad that you are with us today.
It was
So
very convenient, the transition, because you guys were just opening as I was
that's
moving.
right.
I was like, oh, this is like the stars are aligning for me here. So,
Exactly. Well, so like I said, I'm super excited you're here, and I'm so glad you said yes last night when I asked. Um, I couldn't think of a better person to talk serve receive, talk shop with. So let's get started. My first question for you, I want to hear your answer is, what is serve receive? Like for
um,
anybody that doesn't know and they've never known, like what would you say serve receive is?
simply, it's like obviously the practice of receiving the serve at the beginning of the point. So you're the side out team, you're not the serving team. In my opinion, serve receive is the most important skill in volleyball because it's the first touch. And if you can't pass a ball, nothing else can happen after that.
Yeah.
So I put a huge emphasis on passing with my girls, and I was really taught that by my college coaches that like any first touch, really, like the serve if you're the serving team and serve receive if you're the side out team, most important touches of the whole game of volleyball, because after that, like if you can't get those down, literally the point ends. Like you can't do anything after that. So
So true. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a big serving person. Like I focus
mhm.
a lot more on serving, and I think you focus a lot more on serve receive, because that's the skills that you did. I did serving more, right? I never serve received because I was a setter, but you passed a lot more than I did, so I can see why you would make that, a big emphasis.
Mhm.
Um, Yeah, so tell me something or tell me what you think is difficult about serve receive, from your experience as a player and then what you see across now as a coach, what you see from your players.
um, Anybody can serve receive, in my opinion. Like anybody, whether you're 6'7" or 4'6", height doesn't really matter. It's all about your mental game, and I think that's the most difficult part. Oftentimes, serve receive will break down within a team, not because they're not capable of passing a ball, but because they get so inside their heads. And
Yes.
it's so hard to stay confident when you're not having success at any skill in volleyball. But in serve receive, you're the first touch. So, like I said, if you can't get a decent pass, you feel that extra pressure of like, okay, the rally just ends if we can't get a good pass or if I can't get the pass to my setter.
Yes.
I was talking to my 18s last night about just being mindful of like of when you're in serve receive and you're struggling, like instead of feeling that emotion, like try to like come outside your body and say, oh gosh, I'm not doing very well. I just shanked a few passes. Like, how can I get back on track versus like getting super frustrated and getting down on myself because and I was telling them last night, unfortunately, we're girls and we have to feel good to play good. And, men is the opposite. Like they can be mad and
Yes.
like still play really well. We have to
Yes.
feel good. Like we have to have all the good feelings, the good mojo.
That's so
Um,
true. What a
so
great
I was telling,
insight. I never
yeah,
really
so
thought
I
about
was
it like
telling
that.
them, I know with coaching teenage girls, you kind of, and being a teenage girl, you kind of like figure out like, if I don't feel good, like I'm not playing well today.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, serve receive specifically, like if you're inside your head and you decide before the play happens, like, I'm really not doing well at passing today, you're not going to get a good pass.
That's true.
But then
And
a middle blocker could go back there and she's 6 foot and has never passed a ball before, and she could go just decide, okay, I'm going to go pass this ball and it's going to be perfect, and she could do it.
yes.
You know, it's 100% mentality, and that's the beauty of it and the tough part of it.
Sure.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. Going back to you, like, having to feel good to play good, it just made me think of this. How many times did you actually do your hair and put on makeup before a college
Every
match?
game.
Every game?
Every game. Every single game. And we would spend, like, everybody an hour in the locker room, like, look good, feel good, play good. That was our motto. Like, we had it written on our whiteboard. Like, if you're not looking good, feeling good, like, you're not going to be a good game.
True. I never thought of it like that, but that was something that I did. And it wasn't because I wanted to look pretty or for whatever. Now I look
Nope.
back at it, and it's definitely because the better I felt the way that I looked, the better I played. And oh, that's so true. Like that, very nice.
It's 100% confidence. Like,
yes.
Total, yeah. It's like tricking your mind into thinking that you already feel good pre-game, so during the game you're gonna feel good too.
Yeah, you're gonna just walk out there and own it, right? Like, I look good. I look good doing this. I look good playing volleyball. I feel good playing volleyball. I'm just gonna be awesome today. And how many times have we told kids, like, you have to fake it till you make it? So, like, you might be having a really bad situation where you're shanking balls, but then if you put that smile on your face and you look at the coach, you just say, you know what, I got it. Or you look at your setter and say, the next one is going to be awesome. You're more likely to actually do that. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So cool. Great insight. Okay. So you said that, you know, anybody can serve receive, but there's obviously types of serves that are easier or tougher to pass because of physics or whatever. So which serve is tougher to receive, float or topspin?
Usually a float, because they have so much more unpredictable movement. Now, granted, I've seen some nasty topspin servers that can just, like, put the ball exactly where they want it to, and it's doing all this crazy spin stuff, and it's so hard to get a read on it. But those are few and far between. Usually with a float serve, it's just so unpredictable. Is it going to rise on me? Is it going to fall at the last minute? Am I going to have to move laterally? The receiving a topspin serve usually is a little bit more simple, because usually the only movement is the ball's dropping down because of that topspin. It's just going down. It's not really going to the side normally, or it's not going to rise up on you. It's more predictable. It's going straight down. So once you get the hang of the ball dropping at whatever speed it's dropping, it's fairly easy to pass. It's kind of like digging.
Right.
So in my opinion, a float serve is more difficult because really sometimes the server doesn't even know where their ball is going either. Like, they just, it's just going to move.
Yeah, they kind of know, like, maybe the area in which it's going to go, but they can't tell you if it's going to hit the passer on the inside or the outside, or it's going to go short or deep, because it catches that wind, and it just, I say wind like we play outside, but it catches some sort of air inside the building, and it could just, like you said, it could just, like, come high on you, or it could just and, like, die.
Yeah.
And you're like, what just happened? I was right there. I always tell my kids that float serves are tougher to receive as well, especially at the ages that we coach and kind of the level that we coach, because nobody is hitting, like, way above the top of the net from the end line. So that top spin's not really a game changer.
And a lot of times you don't have room when you're playing club. You don't have room to do a full-blown topspin serve, so it's not practice.
Yeah, I'm all about the float.
Yeah.
And I'm all about the standing float and getting it, like, exactly where you want it. But jump floats are hard to pass too. So any kind of float serve. All right. So I wanted to do, I guess, a little, I call it shop talk, because it's not, we're just talking shop. Like, we're talking volleyball, right? So, what is your most preferred serve receive pattern? We've got 2-man, 3-man, cup, and 5-man, unless you know something different. Those are the four I know.
Yeah. 3-man is my preferred. I have the most experience with that as a player, and so I've seen, the most success with that pattern. And are you going to explain each one?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up
Or kind of go over each one?
I'm gonna pull it up real quick. All right. So I have Shayla can't see this, I don't think, but I've got a split screen with my paper in between you and me. Okay.
I
So,
can see it actually.
okay, you can see,
Yeah.
this is 2-man, which means that we basically just have two passers splitting the court 50-50. Okay. Mainly we keep our hitters in the front row. We might have a back row setter and she's back here behind the passers and she's going to run and, but the passers are taking up 50% of the court. And so it's it's tougher, but if you got two really great passers that are fast, this is a good option. Then
Mm-hmm.
we have our 3-man, which is what Shayla said she likes to use the most. This is what I use the most with my teams as well. It just means that we have three passers across the back, and we'll talk about their responsibilities in a second, but it's just three passers. We might have a hitter, two hitters standing in the front row with a setter in the back. Then this is, I call it a cup. Some people call it a U or whatever. It's a 4-man serve receive. So we have two people kind of covering the short balls, and then two people covering more of the back balls. Again, it's more of a 50-50 split, but you have regarding the court this way, but then you only have like a quarter deep or quarter short, if that makes sense. And then in the lower age levels, like beginner volleyball, 7th grade, 6th grade, we use more of a 5-man serve receive. And I think it really just depends on the coach's preference, but you can do 3 short with 2 deep, or you can do 2 short with 3 deep. I tend to use this one a little bit more. It keeps the confusion out of the back row, and it keeps my setter most of the time a little bit closer to the net. If I was using this and I had my setter in right back, she would be running a much longer distance. But this sometimes works well as well. So, any added information that I missed, and I'll take this off.
No, not with explanation. We would go to a 2-man every once in a while when there's one passer that's just really struggling. But it would only be for that one half rotation or even that one side out play. We would just kind of push one of the players out if she's just really struggling, split the court in half. But I've never seen, maybe I haven't, I just didn't realize it, but I've never seen a team only always do 2-man serve receive. Usually it's 3-man and then go to 2-man as needed.
Yes, or certain rotations you run that because that's where your two strongest passers are going to be next to each other. But also, I was just saying this while you were talking, 3-man, you can do the 3-man, but then like let's just say this is your outside and they are struggling, but you still want them back there because they need to take a little bit of the court because these two passers aren't good enough to do. That's when we would maybe shift it where these two start to take more of the court and this person comes and just takes a sliver of the court, and then they can still get out, and hit the ball, or right side can hit the ball. But, these two passers end up taking, what is that, 2/3 of the court, and that outside hitter only takes up a third. Right. So I think that's what a lot of people would or do. I tend to do this when that person's struggling, but overall we do the 3-man. All right, I'm going to put us back just on there we go. Okay. So that's good. Yeah. 2 or 3, mostly 3. Like I said, I like to do the little, not the little, I like to do with the littles, the 5-man. It makes it 10 times easier. They have less responsibility. All they have to do is maybe shuffle one way or the other to get the ball. And we have a lot more success than trying to get 3 girls who are fairly new at volleyball to cover an entire lane of the court and move. And so 5-man's for the little ones. Then with that 3-man serve receive, Shayla actually taught me a not new, but a different way of doing serve receive a couple years ago that we have now implemented into the way that we do things at Force. We teach our girls to take all the balls from like their midline on their body to their left. And so when the ball is served between two players, the person on the right is supposed to take the ball. This might be difficult to visualize if you've never really seen it, but if you start watching your daughter in your tournaments or even at practice, they should be starting to implement this. So, Shayla, can you explain to me and to our people why this way kind of works, in my opinion, better than what they might be taught in school or at another club?
So usually what's taught is you have the person's deep ball to your right and short ball to the left. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's right? And that causes so much extra confusion because they don't always know at this, at the younger ages, and really even in college or 18th, you don't always know whether the ball is going short or deep right off the server's hand.
Right.
So it's hard to, one, read that, and then also decide, okay, you have to remember, I have to go deep to my right and short to my left. Like, it's so much extra to think about. I like the left seam because it's like, okay, if the ball's to my left, I got it. If the ball's to my right, she's got it. It just simplifies it and makes it a little bit more consistent, because then I'm sure you've experienced this as well. A ball will drop between two kids and they're like, was that my ball? Was that your ball? It's like, oh my gosh, just go for it and then we'll decide later. But
yeah, that can be a later conversation.
Yeah. But anyway, that's just coaching, venting. But that, I don't know, just the deep and short, it just causes so much extra confusion. And we did the left seam in college, and like when you finally get the hang of it, your service, you just get so much more consistent because you know exactly which balls are yours, and there's no question. There's less questioning, I guess, not no question.
It goes back to that mindset too, like, okay, I can set my mind to just take balls on this side of my body. It's then, that mindset changes a little bit when you have to start covering a lot more of the court and more, and we can't show you here. Well, I guess I could, but the angle is different. And so you have to, it's like you said, you can't read, well, we're not to a point yet where you can really read the short or the deep off of the server's hand. And that's something that we're trying to teach them. But when they don't know if the ball is going short and then to their right, like honestly, like I said, you taught me that because I had never been exposed to that, and I loved it. I tried it. I tried with my team. I have seen some pretty decent success with it. It takes them a little bit of getting used to, because from almost every other facet of volleyball, they're being taught those diagonal angles. And so I think what we'll see hopefully this year, because this will be our second year really like implementing it into the club, I think we'll start to see better success in our serve receive and a lot less of that, like what you said, like, wait, coach, what? Whose ball is that? Was that mine? Like,
it also, sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
It also gives like my liberos and DSs way more ownership of serve receive, which is their job, right? Yeah. So usually you have, I don't know if I'm backwards on the screen, but it's DS, libero, and then hitter. So usually the DS is taking the libero seam and the libero is taking the hitter seam, or vice versa. Yeah. But it gives my libero and my DS, which are passers, more ownership of those seams, and then the outside hitter can focus more on hitting. Right. So like if the ball comes right to her, yes, pass the ball. But it gives my libero more confidence. Like, I can tell her, I want you to take that ball. Take as many balls as you can for my hitter, and just build her confidence that way, because we want the hitter to go do her job.
Right.
Yeah. Too. And then it takes like I said, the pressure off the hitter of like, okay, I got to pass. I got to take this ball and then go hit. Like, no, you just take this little sliver of the court and then pop out and hit as fast as you can.
Yeah.
So they can focus on their 1/6.
I love that mindset thing. Again, like
Yeah,
it gives them ownership if they feel confident in getting in it and getting that ball. And then if they can help the hitter have a little bit of relief, then I think that that makes them feel, you know,
yeah,
I don't know, it makes them feel better too because now they're taking care of somebody. So I like
right.
that. That's a good way to think about it.
And we talk, just one more thing, we talk about like the setter kind of being the quarterback of the court.
Yeah.
You know, like they're running the court because they're the second touch. I like to say the libero needs to run the back half of the court. Like she's got to
Yes.
take ownership of the back half of it because like you got to be back there in direct traffic. So
Right.
get that hitter out of her way. Tell her you got her. You got her back. This is my job. I'm going to pass the ball for you, and then you're going to be able to go do your job.
Yes.
Um,
I always tell my
so
libero, like you and my libero plays left back. So the liberos and the people that play in middle back are the only two people that can see the entire court at one time.
mhm,
And so yes, I love that they have to lead the court because from the back row, because you can actually see what's happening. You can see your own hitters, you can see your own blockers, you can see the other
mhm,
team's hitters and blockers, and you can actually tell them what to do. And so when you have that confidence and sort of receive, like, I'm helping my hitter get out to hit, then, you know, one, I'm gonna look better, play better, right? I'm gonna feel
mhm.
better. I'm going to feel even like 10 million times better when I tell that hitter to get up and tip the ball and she gets a point. Or I tell her
Mhm.
to hit cross and she gets a kill. Like, so that's awesome. I use that
Yeah.
same terminology when it comes to teaching my liberos about the back row leadership. And it's
Yeah, it's
hard
like
for them.
empowering. It empowers them.
It does, but and it's hard for them because they're not used to that. And so
Mhm.
I think that's something that they get from us here at Force. But
Yeah.
all right, so I told everybody that you were going to provide 3 tips that would give their volleyball player um, more passes to target and serve receive. So share with me tip number 1.
First one, and this is a difficult thing to do, and it's a difficult thing to teach. But start to attempt to read your server prior to her serving the ball and while she's serving the ball. So the quicker that you can get ahead of the play,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're going to get way more passes to target. So, for example, look at where she's facing.
Right.
Does she have a tendency to serve the ball deep, or does it sometimes drop short? Is there a lot of movement on her ball? Are you going to have to move laterally, most likely, or are you going to have to move front or back, most likely? Does she have a nasty topspin serve? And I think that's a overlooked thing as far as communication, because volleyball is, we're always saying talk, communicate, but like how can we communicate effectively? Like, what are we saying? What are we talking about before the play? How can we be more proactive instead
Yes.
of reactive? So if you see a server so like, let's say number 23 is serving for the second time, and last time she beat you on a really deep ball, that doesn't mean take a step back necessarily, but it means, hey, we got to anticipate. Tell your serve receivers, hey, we got to anticipate the deep ball, watch deep, anticipate that we're probably going to have to move backwards.
Yes.
So it's like looking across the net, look at your server, get ahead of the play. And that, I mean, that can also apply to any, to defense, also looking at your hitters. But as far as service receive goes, like that's your attacker. That's who is coming at you.
Right.
So try to read her prior. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. You don't have to be right every time. It is
Right.
what it is. But if you can just start training your mind to anticipate what might be coming to you, that's huge as far as getting ahead of the play.
Absolutely. I love that because that is where I think where girls struggle is to opening their mouths prior to the point and then
Mhm.
remembering what just happened. Like
Yeah.
learn from the situation, learn what happened, and then be able to read. I always tell my servers, they go, well, do I look at 1 or do I look at 5 when I serve? I'm like, heck yeah. You know why? Because that passer's freaking out that you're looking at them
Mhm.
and that you're serving to them. But if that passer is ready mentally and is looking at that server saying, okay, she's looking at me, I'm ready to pass this, How
Mhm.
did she do it last time? What did she do? Would she come up when did she jump? Did she serve short? Did she serve deep? And they get themselves mentally prepared. Then they're more accepting to that server, like looking at them. So
Yeah.
that's really good. A good tip is start to understand your server and what they're doing and reading them prior to the play. All
Mhm.
right, so tip number 2.
Tip number two, when you're given opportunities to be perfect, be perfect. So, what I mean by that is like in practice or even in a game, when you get a really easy ball and you can square the ball up in your midline, you can be stopped, you can be balanced, you can throw your feet, and everything can be, you can be in perfect passing posture, do
Mm-hmm.
it. So, if you get those training opportunities specifically in practice, where you're just getting easy serves or you're just warming up for the day, and you could be even free balls, if you can be perfect when you pass, that's what you fall back on when you're in a game.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can train perfect more often, you're more likely to be perfect in the game. But volleyball is not black and white, right? So this is kind of two tips in one. I
Okay.
kind of added a second tip in there. um, Volleyball is not black and white, so you're obviously not going to be perfect every opportunity, right? There's
Right.
going to be a nasty serve, there's going to be a really bad flow, and your feet are going to go, you're going to be cross-legged or on the ground or whatever. At that point, have a strong platform. I always ask my girls this very rhetorical question. I say, what is telling the ball where to go? Like, what is touching the ball? And
Yes.
it's your platform, it's your arms. So if you're doing everything wrong with your feet, but you have an awesome strong platform, the ball is probably still going to go to target.
Right.
So yes, like I drill it into my girls' heads, like be stopped, be balanced, get your shoulders down, get the ball midline. But if you can't, you still have to have a strong platform. You still have to, drop your shoulder and
Yes.
show that platform super early. So I would say just trust your trust your platform if all else fails.
Love
That's
it.
my second tip.
I was actually just talking to my team last night. We did a ton of like partner ball handling, like a lot of passing because our touch on the
Mhm.
ball could get better. And I told them, I say, you just did 700 reps of passing of some form, whatever it was. How many of those reps did you do perfect?
Mhm.
Because when it push comes to shove and you're in the middle of a game, what are you going to do? You're going to do exactly what you've been practicing. Your body muscle
Mhm.
memory is so important. And so if you don't practice being perfect, then you're not even going to come close in a pressure situation. So I love that because
Mhm.
yes, if you have an opportunity on a short serve to move your feet, get there, stop, body, midline platform, all of that, it's going to be better. It's going to go to target. Don't take
Mhm.
it lightly just because it was easy.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Don't take any reps for granted, I guess is the biggest
yes. All
biggest
right.
thing.
And then last, your third tip for more passes to target.
We kind of covered this a little bit, but my last one is to be mindful. So I was talking to my 18s last night about this. Like I asked them, what does it mean to be mindful? Like in any life situation, and they didn't know. They didn't know what the answer was. But basically, it means like to see yourself from another perspective. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of like truly being in the moment of like, okay, for example, I just shanked 3 passes in a row, come outside of your body and say, okay, I'm probably going to feel super frustrated if that just happened. Like I'm starting to feel down on myself. I don't feel like I'm good at service. Be mindful of those emotions that are happening, but
Yes.
don't try not to feel them. Like as weird as that sounds, like, okay, this is probably a really frustrating situation. How can I get myself out of it instead of just like digging myself a deeper, deeper, deeper hole? Because
Yes.
once you get into that hole,
You can't
you're
get
probably gonna
out.
you're probably gonna come off the court because the coach knows that you're just a mind mess.
Yes.
Um, so like I said before, service is just as much of a mind game as it is a physical skill. So try to come up with ways that you can still stay confident even in those times of frustration and
Perfect.
turmoil.
All right. So first one was, sorry, somebody just pulled into my driveway. So the first one was
Reading your server.
read your server. And then 2 was be perfect when you can be perfect, and when you can't, strong platform.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. And then number 3 is be mindful of basically your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
That's so awesome. These are great tips. Every volleyball player can benefit from them across the board, mainly in serve receive, but across the board. Um, so I meant to tell everybody to post comments or questions at the beginning if they had any during while we were talking, but I forgot. So if anybody does have any questions, feel free to comment below. She can't see them, but I can, and I can ask. But other than that, it has been so fun talking to you. I I tell this to people all the time. I could sit and talk volleyball for like 8 hours,
Mm-hmm.
right? Every
Ever.
time, every day, all day. I could talk shop, I could talk volleyball, I could talk wise, everything. And so when I get an opportunity to do that, because I don't feel like I get to do that with you enough, um, it's so fun. And it's so
Mm-hmm.
awesome to hear somebody else's perspective and why they think that something should be a certain way, or how they kind of view, something that I view might be the same as what you're viewing, but the way you teach it and tell it is completely different. So,
Mm-hmm.
thank you for coming on here today and being with me for the last 35 minutes. But see, that's what
Thanks for
happens when we
having me.
start talking shop. It just goes on and
I
on
know.
and
I know. I love
on.
it. I love it.
Yeah, me too. Uh, Somebody asked, what are your players' pre-serve thought process? Like, how would you, what's the word I'm looking for? What are your players' pre-serve thought process? What should their process be prior to the serve? Because you talked about reading them,
Uh-huh.
but what should their thought process be? Obviously, nothing negative, like I'm gonna shank this
Right.
ball.
Right.
But
Right. So that's where I think the communication with your teammates comes into huge play.
yeah,
So you start talking about what can be anticipated. So before every serve, I have my girls talk about seams. So I got your seam, I got your seam. Just you're reminding yourself and you're reminding the person next to you that you have the ball to the left.
yeah,
Um, and then if the server's facing to one, you literally tell your teammates, she's facing here, ball's probably coming here.
yes,
Like tell them what you're thinking. Tell them what you think might happen. As silly as it feels and as silly as it sounds, like you're putting yourself in the mindset and you're helping your teammate get
yeah,
into the right mindset. Like you're helping them anticipate what might happen. And you can even say like, hey, she had a short ball last time, middle blocker, watch the short ball.
right,
You're literally talking through the entire serve before you say mine. Like
yeah,
there's so much that you can say before that. So the thought process I think is try to get your mind off of yourself and think about competing with that server.
mm,
Um,
nice,
like again, she's the one attacking you. How
right.
can we receive it the best? If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I hope that answered the question.
and like you said, well, don't I mean, obviously you want to focus on getting yourself a good pass, but if you keep it kind of off of you and helping your other teammates, then you're not so in your own head about
Right.
you passing or that person serving to you. And then you also have to be receptive to a teammate saying, "Hey, uh, hey Shayla, she served one last time. You better be ready." Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
mean that to come off in a way. I'm letting you know. I realize she's coming to you. Be ready,
Yeah.
and then you have to be
Yeah.
able to receive that. Um,
Yeah.
oh, the question was the internal thought process of the person serving, not receiving.
Oh.
Sorry. But still, that was good. I like talking about the serve receive mindset. But we can talk about that real quick. What do you teach people to think or to talk to themselves about pre-serve?
A few things. So you kind of mentioned facing whoever you're going to serve, because
Yeah,
I think like again, if a lot of serve receivers don't have the mindset of like, okay, she's coming for me, I'm ready. They're
right.
like, oh no, she's coming for me. What do I do? So yes, face that girl. let her know that you're going to go attack her and that you like, okay, girl, I'm coming for you. My coach told me to serve at you because you're probably the weakest passer on the court. And try to, attempt from the opposite side, try to get in their head. And then also, I always tell my girls, like, a volleyball is like, kind of a little bit bigger than your head.
Right.
A volleyball court, you can land a helicopter on, literally. Like, it's a 30 by 30 space that you can land a helicopter on. So,
Yes.
so you should be able to put this little ball on that court somewhere. A lot of servers go back to the serve line and they're like, don't serve out, don't serve out, don't serve out. That's what's going in their head. Or don't serve in the net, don't serve in the net. And it's like, no, switch your thinking to, I can land a helicopter on this thing. I should be able to put a volleyball on this thing.
That's right.
Like just switch from the negative to the positive. Like, okay, I got this. I have this whole court to work with.
Right. I'm a huge advocate of like that self-positive talk. Like, you have to talk positive to yourself. That don't miss my serve or don't miss really translates in your subconscious to do miss. Your subconscious doesn't recognize the word not. They don't recognize any negative talk. So what you're doing is you're sabotaging yourself in a way. And so when you say don't miss, you're really telling yourself to miss. And I've seen it time and time again that you can just tell when a player is really thinking that. And sure enough, they miss it right in the middle of the net. They don't even miss it over the net. They miss it in the middle of the net. So as a coach for myself, I also try and talk to my players that way. I talk to them. I never tell them to not miss. I always say, you're going to make it. You're going to get an ace. You're doing great. Like, get more aggressive, take that angle and do something with it. Don't talk the negative, right? Like, keep the negative out of the space. And so, my advice would always be, challenge yourself in a positive way when you're behind the line and make sure that you are being aggressive and like that you want to be aggressive. Even when it's 23-24 and you're losing and you need to get the next point, it's let's win the next point. Let's tie the game versus don't miss, don't miss, don't miss, don't miss.
Yeah.
So, good. I love that. Awesome.
That's good coaching advice also. Like, because you hear coaches all the time, don't set her. Don't shank the ball. Stop shank. It's like, dude, you're not helping anybody. Like,
no, you gotta stay positive.
Just like you're saying, like, you can't say, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Like, have them try to chase something instead of running from the fear of like, oh no, I'm gonna miss this serve. Like, no, I'm gonna go chase this goal of making my serve. It's huge difference.
It changes the demeanor of the player when you tell them something like that. Even if you aren't even being intense, you're just like, don't tip. There you go. Ooh, wait, I can't do anything good now. Like, I don't know what to do. Instead, instead of hitting tip, hit down the line, or instead of tipping to the person, hit here, whatever. So
hey, corner's open.
Yes, tell them something that's working. Let's see. What is the most fun or most challenging part of coaching during a game?
Fun and challenging?
Or
most fun is definitely like seeing success for something that we have been working on, and the light bulb like finally goes off during a game and they're like, oh, I get it, or like, oh, we've been working on this for 3 weeks and I finally applied it. That's the most fun, is that you as a coach, you're literally growing the game of volleyball. Like, you're taking your head and like putting it, your mind and like your insight, and you're putting it on these girls, and like seeing them apply that is it's a blast. And just like seeing them have success and be so excited about it. That's the funnest part for me. The most challenging part is what's the most challenging part?
Knowing that they know that information and not applying it.
Yes.
Because you ask them and they know, you're like, well, why did you do that? And they're like, I'm not
I
really
don't
sure.
know.
I know I should have gone here. And you're like, yes, that's the most challenging for me.
It's also challenging to have played volleyball for 12 years and have all this insight
Yes.
after that, and then it's kind of the same thing, but being able to like translate that and have them learn from the things that you didn't know when you were 15, teaching them like, hey, this is going to help you so much. You don't know it, but this little piece of information is going to help you so much, and it's going to help you work
Yes.
smarter, not harder. And it's hard to like, see it from this big bird's eye view and like
Yeah.
it in terms that they can understand, I
Yeah.
guess. They're not understand. It's not that they don't understand, it's that they just don't have that that perspective quite yet, you
Right.
know.
And it's hard for them sometimes to, you know, I to trust you. Like
Mm-hmm.
they didn't watch you play. They didn't
But
know that you were this good or that you could do all these things that they're struggling with. They they just know you as coach and
yeah,
you talk to them all the time and you teach them. And sometimes that can be a little, okay, well, I got to get my trust with her. Like, does she really know what she's talking about?
yeah,
And then they do it and they're like, you're like, tip to three, it's going to be a point or dump the ball or whatever. And it happens. And they're
mm-hmm.
like, whoa, she was right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I keep telling my girls because it's a new club season, like, okay, this all feels kind of weird and chaotic right now, but I promise all the kinks are gonna get like worked out. Just trust the
Yes.
process, and if
Trust
you
the
can commit
process.
to this system, it's gonna look way better come game time. Like I
Yeah.
promise, I promise, I promise. Just keep trusting me.
Lots of
But yeah, it
promises.
is hard. It is hard, like especially at the beginning of a season. So
Okay. One more question.
okay,
What are the range of emotions that you experience as a coach during practice and games?
all of them. All of them.
All
Really,
of
like
them.
anything that the girls are feeling, I'm feeling. I would even venture to say like tenfold. Like I'm feeling them more than they are,
Yeah.
and then have to go and navigate their emotions too. And
Right.
I think I feel them more because I know I have to navigate them. Um, I'm a very empathetic person, so I know when somebody's frustrated. Like the second that they start to get frustrated and their demeanor changes, I'm like, okay, we gotta build this girl back up.
Yeah.
Um, Practices, I feel like I can be a little bit quote unquote harder because it matters, but it there's no game on the line,
Right.
so you can challenge a player a little bit more in practice versus a game. It's all like build your confidence, build your confidence, build your confidence. Because just like we're saying, if your players don't feel good, you're not going to see success. So it's
So
like
true.
it's the coach's job to build that confidence
Right.
also during the game.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that the range of emotions that you would feel in practice are one, excitement that you're there, and then two,
Mm-hmm.
start to get frustrated because they're not doing what you think that they can do.
Yeah.
And then excitement again to, once they start playing and then you start seeing those things being implemented later. And then
Mm-hmm.
in the game, it's high emotions the whole time because
Yep.
you feel like you feel like every point you should be there with them, like guiding them in the game, in the play, and you can't do anything. And so having to relay the message via voice and
Mm-hmm.
words is tough when you could be like, I could just show you, and you can't
Yeah.
show them. So
It's
I know
it's
that after
it's
a day, I'm just worn out,
oh my
like
gosh,
wiped.
emotionally just drained. Yeah.
Yes, it's insane. All right.
Mhm.
Well, Shayla, thank you so much for being here. Like I said, it has been so fun. I thought those questions were great. It was a nice little insight into who you are and then into me. And so thank you again. And I will see you on Monday at practice.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, that was Shayla. She's awesome. And what was I going to say? Oh, I can't remember. I just got so caught up in the fun of that interview. Oh, that's right. So next week's live will be on Thursday, December 10th. I will be talking about, oh, it's live Q&A Thursday. Yay! Okay, so if you have any questions that you want answered regarding volleyball, the game, practices, tournaments, anything, then and you can't make it live, or you just don't want to type them in the comments below, email them to me. All right, email me all of your questions regarding volleyball and I will address them. You can send me an email at Brittany, BRITTANY at HoustonForceVB.com. I am looking very forward to this. And then you'll also be able to ask any questions in the comments during the live next Thursday. I can't wait to talk about all things volleyball with you. Then the following week, our live will not be on Thursday. It will actually be on Monday, December 14th. It is going to be incredible. I will be interviewing my friend, Jennifer Doris. We are old friends, and we used to play together when we were 16s and 17s. She's going to come on and talk to us about our history, and then she's going to tell us about what it was like to play volleyball at the University of Texas and what it was like to be playing professionally all over the world. I cannot wait to introduce her to you and get, I don't know, just to have some fun conversation. She played in multiple countries across the world and is finally home. She's been spending the last 10 years playing, and she decided to retire. So here she is. She's going to be with us on December 14th. But yeah, so I will see you next Thursday, live Q&A. Email me your questions if you have any beforehand, and I will get them addressed, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.